John McCain was making his run for the White House in 2007, Republican governor then of Minnesota, Tim Pawlenty, was on his short list for vice president. It might have changed his whole life until McCain decided on Sarah Palin. But now, many people feel that Governor Pawlenty would be the perfect choice for the Republicans, and we're going to find out why. Please welcome the former governor of Minnesota, Tim Pawlenty, who has a new book called Courage to Stand. Okay, you've got courage to come on with us. Thank you. A lot of people feel this way about you because you're a very calm man. People even say you're too nice. Well, that should be the worst thing they say about your governor. But let's talk about what happened. Do you feel this is just a crazy person, or do you feel that politics, to some degree, in the media has to be blamed?
Well, one of the things I talk about in the book is how do you respond to crisis, and one of the first steps is make sure, Barbara, you got good information and you make good decisions based on good information. As we sit here on The View today, there is no evidence that this deranged individual acted because of some particular set of comments or experience with the media or politician. That being said, our country, all of us, each of us, individually and collectively, can benefit from a more thoughtful and civil debate.
Sure, absolutely.
Do you think that Sarah Palin, because of the ad that she took or because of some things that she has talked about, do you think she deserves to herself be a target of this antagonism?
As to Governor Palin?
Yes.
You know, I think she's a remarkable leader. I think she served her state well, and she's an important voice for my party. But there's no evidence to indicate that she or anyone else was the cause of this. We have a mentally unstable, deranged individual. We know that sometimes they do senseless and irrational things, and to condemn or to judge based on that facts as we know them today is unfair.
Do you think, given that the perception out there based on the Crosshairs format that she put out, do you think that her political career might be over?
No, I don't. And again, you can debate tactics and style and all of that, but again, there's no evidence to suggest she or anyone else is at fault other than you have somebody who had these mental health challenges. Speaking
of political career, though you haven't decided yet on 2012 running for the presidency, if you were to decide potential potential running mate, who would be ideal for you, do you think? Name
Whoopi. She's got a purple brain.
It would be the first time, not the first time, but where we've had people of different, I don't know what your political party is. I'm not sure that it's the same as his, but, you know, possible.
You know, I'm an American. I'm all about fixing America. So.
Governor, you are going to run. That's why you've written this book. That's why you're on television programs. You know, these are the days of being very honest. So
yeah, I'm not trying to be cute about it. I'm seriously considering it, Barbara. I told people I'm going to decide and announce in the next few months. Two things. One is, what does the country need, and do I bring something to the table in that discussion? I think I do in the book and otherwise. I've got a record as a Republican in a Democrat state dealing with spending and public pensions and entitlement reform and health care reform and much else. And secondly, I got a family. I got a wife. I got 2 children. And one big factor for me is, you know, if I do this, how much of a burden is it going to put on them?
Where are you going to get the money?
From you.
No, I'm afraid not.
You got enough of it, Barbara.
I'm serious. You know, when Mike Huckabee was on with us, he said that he was thinking of running, but it costs so much money.
What's your strategy?
It does, you know, and I tell people, look, it helps if you're going to run for president to be a billionaire, to be famous, or to have some novelty. I don't have any of that, but I got a great record. I think I've got a good heart. I think I understand what the country needs, and I think I can help.
What about the people that say you're too nice? Because it does float out there some, and you're up against some big names like Giuliani, potentially, maybe Palin, who knows? Mitt Romney is the name that gets thrown out there.
People shouldn't confuse being nice or thoughtful or civil with being strong. Let me give you an example. Ronald Reagan. You can agree or disagree with him. I thought he was one of the best presidents in the history of the country. Well, what were the lessons of Reagan? He had strong views, but he presented himself in a civil, thoughtful, decent, kind manner. There were almost no instances where Ronald Reagan yelled, screamed, judged, condemned. There was that one time in New Hampshire where he said, I paid for that microphone. But he was strong. Nobody confused being nice with strong. And if you look at my record, there's no absence of strength there.
Governor Pawlenty, you said that if you were to become president, you would want even more tax cuts. Why do you say that?
Well, if you look, Cherie, at our country, I think one of the things that job providers tell you is the burdens are pretty heavy compared to the rest of the world, and we got to be more competitive. I would start by saying just don't make it worse. And this compromise of a week or two ago between the Republicans and the Democrats, they said we'll start by saying we won't let them go up. I think that was a good starting point. But over time, you know, it's not right versus left. It's just put it up on the wall and see how our burdens from the business and jobs compare to other places, and we're high.
Do you think it would be a smart idea for us to stop rewarding companies that send our jobs overseas?
Well, we got a lot of issues there. I'm for free trade, but I'm not for being a chump, Whoopi. And we have outsourced lots of our country, lots of our economy, lots of our jobs to places that don't play by the rules. So I'm happy to have America compete and compete vigorously, but I don't want to compete against people who cheat. And so they need to be called out, and either they need to treat us fairly, or we need to dial up the heat on them.
What about the American companies that have sent the jobs out? Do you think that we need to be stronger with American companies that say put the bottom line over the American economy, basically?
We need to encourage and incentivize our companies to grow and do business here, but let's also be clear on this. If you're a company like 3M and 5 million people in Minnesota, the state that I love, you know, they can't make a future just selling to Minnesota or to the United States. They have to market to the world.
Yeah, but they don't have to take the jobs out.
That's right, but let me give you a good example. If you want to do business in China, for a lot of companies, China says, oh, you want to do business here? You put a plant here. You want to access our economy? You hire our people. You want to access our market? You give us your technology. We don't do that to them.
No, well, that's the point. Yeah. That's what I was saying.
Nothing is quite as simple these days as, you know, you can't be quite as black and white as what we know. But I want to just ask you one question, because your life would have been so different, or your running would have been so different if you were the vice presidential candidate. Did John McCain ever tell you why? Was it just that he needed a woman? Why he didn't choose you?
Well, I had some thoughts about that, Barbara. The morning I knew I wasn't going to get picked, I took my little Yorkie Bichon out for a walk, and she did her business, and I picked it up with a plastic bag, and I thought to myself, you know, that's the only number 2 I'm going to be getting this week.
Why didn't you get it? I've heard you say that, and it's wonderful and it's funny, but the bottom line is, why didn't you get it?
Well, when I talked to Senator McCain, and I can't remember his exact words, but it was something like, you know, we've got to try something different. I think he knew with the economy collapsing, there was going to have to take a little different approach. And I think it was a bold pick. You know, it wasn't a traditional pick, and it was a bold pick in a lot of ways.
Do you think he regrets it?
I don't think, regardless of who Senator McCain picked, he was going to not win that election once the economy collapsed, and it wasn't Sarah Palin's fault. And I say, and I continue to say very positive things about her.
You're a very positive person, and it's our pleasure to have you on the program.
You're nice. Thank you.
And to have, and with your running mate.
All right.
You know. So,
let's do it, baby.
If you want to know more about the governor, and by the way, he has a very interesting personal story. Your whole background, your family, and so forth. You were not born to riches, and so it's a very interesting story. The book is called Courage to Stand. Members of our audience are all going home with a copy. And when we come back, the great actor Paul Giamatti is going to be with us. Governor, thank you.